Got it.
Um, so yeah, I did hear from some of the employees of the ice cream shop that he's a real good boss.
Oh, that's good. He's a good boss.
Yeah, that's cool. Um,
Ah,
Again, thank you. And first off, I wanted to just make sure I mentioned that you have a nonprofit that you do with kids, right? Or you work with a nonprofit, Rides for Kids.
I have in the past. I don't work with them right now.
Okay.
And then there's a whole like uh my 9-year-old did a mountain bike thing, a camp last week, and it was like in Mill Valley, and there are like 57 kids on the ride.
Oh, man,
you know, it's a big deal.
that's
It's real
awesome.
typical of like all the high-end neighborhoods. People want to keep kids off of the screen.
Yep.
They'll spend 500 a week easy on activities. You know
What,
what I'm saying?
what's better than being out in nature and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know?
Now this one's a winner. I like my my 9-year-old. He's a book reader. He's not an athlete. You
Mine
know.
too. I have a 13-year-old and I've I've had to force him to be active, you know.
Well, the thing is he likes riding the bike, and he went on his thing, and he did just fine. And just like had a good old time. So it's like it's a different type of sport, really.
That's
Than
that's actually one of the things I wanted to talk to you about
Yeah,
because
he's not into the ball sport so much.
yeah,
And
I
he'll like sit on the sideline of the playground and read books.
yeah,
And they love him at the library, and the school teachers love him, because he's just like total shining other kid,
yeah,
the
yeah.
other example. So they all come out different.
That's
You
right. And they're out
and,
there like the way they are right when they come out.
and you can't just try to shape them. Oh my goodness, what a bad bet that is.
Yeah, I know, man. It's like a constant constant losing battle.
Yeah, yeah. So you just got to encourage him. So we got him on this ride, and I worked a fun. He's really picky on what kind of what his bike looks like and what his outfit looks like. And he won't ride the regular bike shorts. No way, no how.
Mhm.
It's like, I just, I went down to you got to get your bike checked out and everything. And so I get the bike checked out, and I remind this guy, no, he doesn't have to have the gloves and the special shorts and all that, because we didn't when we started this thing. It
Right.
was hilarious. He was cracking up. We're all having a good time. They're all. It was nice. They're real nice people.
I had a
So,
guy on my podcast who was a motorcycle racer, and he went through his helmet and jacket and like pants that don't even look like motorcycle pants, but there's kind of some pretty high end,
oh
cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's all kinds of cool stuff coming out too. It's like I went to the big bike show, the Eurobike, and one of the things is protective equipment, and you still haven't got that wired. It's really funny. I mean, equestrian and motorcycle, they have inflatable protective equipment, and
Yeah.
the bike guys are still like they're trying to like, like the motorcycles, and they'll use a leash, and when you fall off, poof, it
Oh,
goes, because that's the thing. You don't want it to go when
yeah.
you don't want it to go, you know?
Yeah.
And the bike guys are still trying to like figure out these algorithms and everything to trigger it. And it was like there was this Swedish helmet that the women put together that was a big inflatable and everything. Those guys went out of business, a couple of years ago, because they couldn't really get it certified well. I mean, here it is, an explosive device right next to your neck, bad deal. And then second, it would go off when you didn't want it to go off, and it wouldn't go off when you did,
Right.
because they relied on this algorithm and everything.
Yeah.
It's quite worked out. All that stuff hasn't quite worked out. I mean, the driverless car hasn't quite worked out as good as a human yet.
Yeah.
And therefore, like the driverless car and the whole system is coming, but it's going to be in restricted zones. You know what I'm saying? Where it's got its right of way and all that sort of thing. You know, it
Yep.
just certain places, because man, people sure don't like it that much.
Yeah, it
It's
bugs
so
me.
funny. They're like the best drivers in San Francisco are the driverless cars.
I know.
Because
I
they
know.
don't go over the speed limit. Everybody else does. you
Yep. And they're on their
know,
phones, you know.
So,
They could be on their phones if they use the driverless car. I'm
you
sort
can be, and that's the charm. You don't have to pay attention to driving. I mean,
of,
it's a great sport racing a car, but it's really expensive, it's really dangerous, and you get over it. The need for speed. I mean, that's a basic guy thing, isn't it?
yeah.
Little thrills and adrenaline. Come on, you know.
Mm.
And I'm just talking in generalities.
Yeah.
We're all used to like all the exceptions in life, and it's good to have. It keeps us healthy. That's for sure.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you a little bit about city biking because I grew up in a
Wow.
city where I literally had to escape people trying to steal my bike.
Oh yeah,
Not like locked up. I mean, like while I was riding it. So I had to
I've
like
I've had that too
keep my
once.
eye out and,
No, I had
immediately.
that once. I had a guy come up, behind me. He's riding with me. He starts asking me how much the bike cost and where they get it and the whole thing. And I just felt like, no, man, this guy at one point is gonna like pull the gun and say, "Hey, hand it over."
Yeah.
So I just started going faster and faster and faster, and I rode away from him, but like it because he was breathing too hard, he couldn't keep up, flat out, But man, yeah, I've always taken a lot of that stuff for granted. I've never gotten in trouble. I never had to hand over my bike or anything, but no, just
And
a single bike rider. That's why I notice groups of that's why there are groups of road riders all the time, you
right.
know, because otherwise they get harassed and stuff and hassled, by people. Man, that's why gravel riding is so popular, right? It's really the sad truth. It's like mountain biking became too extreme for a lot of people. Oh, I'm not going to jump and fly and all that stuff. I get enough thrills at like 15 miles an hour on my mountain bike, And
Yeah.
it's the thing, 15 miles an hour on a mountain bike can seem like it's going fast. I remember a long time, about 10 years ago, after our first, I showed my wife some videos I'd gotten out of and she's looking at these guys go fast. And she goes, "This is sped up, isn't it?" No, man. That's how boom, 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 the whole thing is. And that's a lot of fun. And the reality is it looks sped up maybe and stuff, and the guys are going super fast. They're going like 22 miles an hour.
Think about how you're also like in a transcendent state where you're
Yeah.
not having time to consider options or
No.
make decisions. I guess it's like kind of like mogul skiing or something. It's like
Oh
you're
yeah, you're doing
balancing.
it. And it's a pure bliss of like doing it, doing it.
Right.
What you got there and making it work, because it's a total physical thing, I mean, you're balancing on the two wheels and going back and forth, on that thing. And that's like and it's been found that's one of those movements that makes people really happy.
Right.
And there's been medical now peer-reviewed medical papers on just this activity of going like this, over center of the earth of gravity and everything. And besides all the endorphins, all that other stuff, meeting people, going places, it's like, man, that movement. A skater does it, a surfer does it. You go on and on. Dancers do it, classic dancers and everything. The trance is part of it.
Yeah.
And people, man, you need that. Not every single day, but man, you need that
Tell me
connection.
about it. So you may remember I'm in a wheelchair. I've got this
Yeah,
incredible
yeah.
balancing wheelchair and just throwing a ball back and forth with someone or throwing a frisbee or whatever
Right.
accesses this state of
Right.
this is amazing. And bicycling seems like it has so many of the aspects of that and transportation and environmental,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
um,
I've been checking out okay, what's the company? It's it starts with a B, and they make three-wheel bikes, electric for off-road.
oh,
And these guys, I mean, their bikes are like between 12 and 20 grand, they're electric. And I checked them out really hard. They're at Sea Otter, big time. And those things are really sophisticated because they all the fitments and things to make it work with the majority of people, human beings that need that help, it was amazing what they've done and all the people they're working with. And there's some good organizations that are working hard on that. And then went to the Taipei show in Taiwan, and it's really funny. One of my oldest, the company I did business with like 35 years ago, uh, George Lin, and his company is called Pacific Cycles. And he made a lot of bikes for me back in the day. And his daughter runs the company these days, which is real typical. A lot of Taiwan companies are run by women these days. It's amazing. Well organized. What can I say? And they have for years done adaptive bikes and all that, folding bikes, adaptive bikes. They get into like something that was George's passion for a long time, but it's really intense, and they just set up a whole new factory in Taichung, and it's a lot of robotics. They sort of switched. Everybody's going with more and more robotics, so it's like I was looking at that and going like, wow, how could I get involved in this thing and get the cost down? Because those guys, they're earning every penny that you spend on those bikes. Man, they're well done. Cool. But I'll tell you, all the process, I look at it and go, there's a better way to do all that process, if you make a bigger quantity. And man, there's a need. I was looking at the numbers, and yeah, there are people that need this thing. So there's a business.
Sorry, good.
Oh, well, it's electrified and everything. I mean, your wheelchairs are electrified too, right?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I heard that the electric bikes are the third leading electric vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
Being sold.
Because they're affordable.
Yeah.
They're reasonable too. I mean, we're never going to get to net zero unless we adopt that super lightweight mobility. I mean, one good Tesla battery actually equals about 200 electric bike batteries. It's just a scale thing like that. I mean, Elon, I mean, come on, man, he got everybody excited with the speed of that thing,
acceleration, yeah,
like all the time, and he's got another problem now. He's chewed off something that's flat out hard to make, number one, and you can't sell anywhere but the United States. That's the problem. He doesn't have that big a market. Europe doesn't allow, they don't allow those big sharp edges and stuff like that. They got all these like laws on that. We don't. We have zero laws on that.
Is that for the Cybertruck or for all of it?
Yeah, it's a mess. I see a lot of them around here. That's like I see they make a black one and it's flat, and I'm going like, now that's sensible. I mean, like if I made that thing, I mean, when you got like those big flat panels, you see everything, all the problems, and then it doesn't line up right. And, it's a real problem. It's difficult to make what he's trying to make. It's difficult. That's the problem. It's like you can't. Things got to be easy to make. The best bikes I ever made that were the most popular, most copied, were actually the easiest to make and make straight and right and work and all that sort of thing and deliver on promise. You got to do that. And he's not quite there. The thing, I mean, for such an expensive vehicle, man, it's too easy to mess it up. It's a problem. So I don't know. I can't, it's hard to be critical. He's got all that, like the whole rocket industry that he just totally revolutionized. His philosophy is pretty wild. I mean, I like how he said, well, his charging station program was like not good, and he knew it. So what did he do? Fire his own company? Oh, he's crazy, but people like that these days. That's sort of like, oh, I don't care how crazy it is. Get something done. I'm sick and tired of nothing happening. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of charm in that. because man, the status quo has a real reason to be the status quo, right?
I thought you were going to make a rhyme. The status quo is a long way to go. And when it comes to
Yeah.
wheelchairs and
Oh,
wheelchairs
no.
getting into vans, that's something I wanted to just share with you. 'Cause I'm
Yeah.
sure there must be a lot of people that who've suffered spinal cord injuries and who are in wheelchairs. And
Well, enough, man. It's like it's not huge numbers, fortunately, because people are a little more careful than they used to be. But at the same time, I mean, man, I can remember just cases, back when I was a teenager, and it was just like, sheesh,
yeah.
it just like the equipment then was awful, the
Well, I
whole
mean,
foot.
you'd be surprised because
Yeah.
we don't. It's so the sidewalks and the streets are so behind the times in terms of
Oh,
becoming
that too.
acceptable
Yeah.
that a lot of people are not out and about. And this wheelchair that I have, which I could show you some of the things you've already seen it, but it allows you to climb up a curb where there's
No,
no
I
ramp.
saw yours. Yours
Yeah,
is insane. I love it.
yeah.
And it uses a lot of, like you told me, like that was like the mother of
The
what do you call it?
Segway.
The Segway.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll never forget. Like when that thing first came out, I'm at the airport in San Francisco, and this guy's on one going up and back to the counter, looking so cool. And it's like he rolls it down uh, the ramp, and he just hands it over, and they take it downstairs. That was amazing because that wasn't a lightweight piece at the time,
no,
And I thought, wow, that's the way it's going to be. Well, what the heck? We'll see what's going on, personal
funny.
trans. But but what you're doing, I mean, going upstairs, I mean, there you go. That's the thing. Like my dad was an architect, and all his architect friends in the '60s, they're all like pissed because they had to do ramps and stuff. Oh, this changes everything, But the thing is you got to design that stuff in at the very inception. I mean,
Right.
not as an add-on, as a mustache on the thing. And if you do all that right, then it's not a problem,
Yeah.
And it's really funny. It's like I know it's going to happen. You know why I know it's going to happen? Because the kids today like to skate. They got these little wheels. They want to be able to roll everywhere,
Yeah.
right? Wouldn't you? And
Yeah.
it's like, and then self-service. Everybody's rolling their own baggage around now. They
Yeah.
didn't do that before. I mean, like in the old days, they'd have trunks and people that carried that stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And different thing. It's like everything has changed that way.
Yeah.
So and that stuff, it you got a plan, at the beginning. And if you get it in your mind, it's like, hey, what about I like to get around on a skateboard sometimes. That one's blown my mind. I remember about 5 years ago, I'm riding my bike at 6 in the morning, going on my training ride. It's like before light, And here's this dude, man, on a motorized skateboard going like 25 miles an hour. I'm like pounding really hard to just sit and draft him. And like he's in a three-piece suit, just like doing the form and everything. And then, I stop and talk to him. He's going to the city. He's taking the bus to the city, puts the thing in a backpack, and he's gone. I'm going like, humans will not be stopped. They're
Yeah.
going to go. And I've been that way. I used to be a skater when I was 14, 15. I got good at it, and during my 20s, I could always like ride a skateboard really fat, going full on, down a hill, as long as there weren't little pebbles, because those are
Yeah.
the days of clay wheels. But like going to, terminal velocity. And I'm racing a bike too. You get into this thing of like, well, terminal velocity. Unfortunately, at sea level, it's hard to get above 45 miles an hour.
Mm.
But we go to altitude, and like you go up to 55, 60, and terminal velocity felt really good because you were pushing against this cushion of air.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
felt really safe, in a way. It's really
Sometimes
funny.
you feel like you can actually like lift off and start floating.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's great. Hey, but you know, anyway, I never had a crash at that speed. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the only reason I was bringing it up is that
Yeah, yeah.
you have done a lot of designing, sort of like building,
Right.
fabricating, and there are all these
Wow,
people out here in LA who are like doing amazing things in the entertainment industry. so that they can have like an explosion in a movie. And I'm hoping to just get a few folks to put our heads together about how to re-engineer a lift that can get a wheelchair into a car, because right now the cars that
Right.
wheelchairs get in
Yeah.
are, first of all, extremely expensive, and the lift makes it in the $100,000 range. And there used to be a lift that would, if you can imagine it, instead of a ramp that comes perpendicular from a car, which requires all this space to the side, like the blue handicap spot,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
used to have this lift which would allow you to approach the vehicle alongside of it from right next to it, and it would lift you up and then rotate you in so that you could park
Oh,
anywhere anybody
was
else could park. And
I
it was like,
was that thing like almost like these rollers on rails, and the whole chair would follow this whole rail thing along? Was that how it worked, or
no, it's called a swing arm or a
no? You got to have. We got to look at it.
yeah, no, I would love to. I'd like,
I mean, that's the thing. It's like this is the thing. It's like a lot of stuff that's already been done,
yep,
but it was done in old materials and old ways of making things.
yep,
And and a lot of time, if you can totally re-engineer, it for a different material
yeah.
these days, man, you can make that thing work really well. Make it, one third the weight or half the weight or something, which really helps. And then make it so it's like soft enough where it you don't have to have special fixtures on the vehicle, because that's another thing. You want it to be able to fit into any car. You don't want to have special cars,
Right,
and fit the car with fitments. Ugh.
right, right, right.
Yeah. It's supposed to fit everything, just
Yeah.
like pop, you go in.
And all
Now,
the people who used to have the lift are like, they love it. They're and kind of sad to have seen it
well,
go.
that gets you like halfway there. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
huge. Like
yeah,
to look at something and then research the history of it. Like, where'd this thing break?
yeah. Well, there was this
How did it
weird.
work? What were people's complaint about it?
There, what it was is one of these things where like uh regulatory overreach with, you know,
Oh yeah.
it's
No,
just
right. And then how do you get around that?
yeah, it's
You
got
know
to be
who's
like
the, met
a
these guys.
political advocacy thing too. You know, you got to have multi-prong approach,
I met
lobby.
the guys, and they got an office, I think, in Burbank or something. And it's DJI, the drone people,
Okay.
because those guys are the ultimate. They got around the rules, right? They made a smaller drone
Huh.
under the limit. Those guys are the guys. I met them. They're making e-bike batteries now.
Yeah.
But it's like you get those guys in on the thing. That's a brain, right there, already figuring it out. Already thinking about that things. That's what you got to do these
Yeah.
days.
Are you're based in Northern California?
Yeah,
Boy,
yeah.
it looks beautiful, and all the it seems like just a magical place to ride bikes.
Oh,
Um,
it's nice. The
have you,
kids have it great. It's intense. And yeah, they have it good. And the weather's super nice and the air's good. I'm knocking on.
that's
No,
that's a big one.
we haven't
I
had
don't
that
even
wire
realize
stuff hit us really hard.
I didn't do this on purpose, but I have a clean air button on because there was a
Yeah,
festival
yeah.
in Echo Park. You know,
I'm
Echo
really
Park has an
proud.
interesting history
Yeah.
with vehicles. They're like the first go-kart was made in Echo Park.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's wild. I'm not surprised.
Have you ever
It's
been up
so
Echo Park Ave?
functional. What's that?
Have you ever been up Echo Park Ave north of Sunset?
Not really.
There's like a
Maybe a little bit.
long, slow grade that takes you all the way down to Sunset, and it's like
Oh yeah.
ideal for skating. You don't even have to like push. You can skate all the way down, and it's not too steep. It's nice and
Huh?
wide.
Wow.
And there used to be like, kids doing all kinds of innovations, with these steep hills and
Right.
range of different kind of pitches.
No, a lot of stuff. I mean, came out of LA. Come on. It's crazy because you get all these people like the creatives in there forever,
Yeah,
and their kids.
yeah.
and then no boundaries. And then you got to like all these inputs, all these kids showing up from everywhere all the time.
Exactly.
It's I always find it that I mean my kid is both my older kids, they live there. I mean, my daughter too. So
Okay.
it's and they're super happy, and I know why, it's going on. I mean, where we are is very peaceful. It's great for kids, and man, it can be dull if you let it be, you know, really dull, but that's part of the charm. And it's like up to you to like bring it in. But my wife does a great job. It just blows my mind. She's always got like people over that have done stuff, crazy people that like got a yeah, they made a ton of people make money here in all kinds of ways, and they come from everywhere. And a mixed race kid is more common than straight up. And besides, that was a big misnomer anyway. Like I'm a mongrel of all kinds of European countries, or where do you draw the border lines and why? It's so incredibly silly, and everybody knows it here, and it's not an issue. It's
Yeah.
really sweet. It's not like it used to be, so
Amazing. You know how fast
yeah.
things have been changing?
Oh yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I think a lot of people are just sort of in a bit of a
Shock.
yeah,
What the heck's going on? I don't know. Oh God, I just stick to what I do every day, and okay, great.
yeah.
That's but no, there's a lot of change afoot, and we're waiting for the kids to outnumber everybody else, and have somebody they can believe in, have something, it's really crazy. Just I want to go on and on about all the current events and everything. Amazing.
Amazing.
Uh,
Truly mind couldn't be yeah,
yeah,
wild, man.
yeah.
And
You
I
can't
like to
make this
talk about
stuff up, right?
yeah. You wouldn't pass the no way test.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so is your nonprofit called Trips for Kids or the one that you
No,
used?
no. I was involved with them for a number of years. And
Okay.
the founder, Marilyn Price, she was great, but she left, she retired, and she should have. I mean, it's like she did that for a long, long time. And it's changed a bit, but it's still the same sort of thing.
Are there
But
any
that
other?
was that was an education for me, just like, boy, there's a lot of kids that never get out of that zone, and nature blows their mind,
Yeah.
and it's not that far away. Um,
Yeah.
an organization I'm with these days, just a few weeks ago, I was in Utah, and it's IMBA, International Mountain Biking Association. They are changing their name. They don't like that come on, because it comes on as like, we're the mountain bikers and we're going to take over here. We're part of the big federation or whatever, and they're switching out to trail solutions, because what it is, you bring in all the different players that want to recreate there. I mean, the horseback riders, the mountain bikers, the hikers are, the basics, and then of course anybody that needs anything. I mean, if you need like a anything, come on down, let's all join together and let's work it out. I mean, and real expert trail building. So you got trails that don't conflict with each other naturally. I mean, the best rule making is not having to make the rules, that people want to do this, go this way and go that way, that the mountain bike trails are really well designed for mountain bikers. And that is that like that, mountain bikers complain, oh, your trails are too antiseptic. Well, you're right. For you don't like that. And we can have it more like the way you like it, more natural and stuff like that, and rougher. And they're finally getting around to being able to categorize all these, and then be able to types of trails, that is, and then and have a consistent rating thing. But more importantly, they're really good at getting together. The organizations, they all work together and they get what they want. They get the grants from the city, the county, the state, federal grants, all that sort of thing, and they build stuff and they do stuff, and they make
That sounds
change.
amazing. I'm
It
here in
is. It's a
have
really cool thing.
you ever
They
been to Elysian Park in LA, not too far from where
no,
you're
I'm not familiar.
well, that's not surprising because it's Griffith Park is the more well-known big park
Okay.
in LA. Elysian Park is where Dodger Stadium is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and there's a whole like park there that there could be some great mountain biking.
Well, that's what's got to happen. Then the other organization I've been with, that I'm not with at the moment, is NICA, which is the kids high school mountain biking, and that's sort of like it grew, but man, it's become more of a rich kids thing because you got to be able to spend an overnighter because the
Mm.
trails, the race courses are far away, and all that,
What is the
and
name? Ika?
um,
Does it?
NICA. So, it's a national interscholastic, and a cycling association.
Okay.
And what they do, they was started with high school, and now they do, middle school as well.
Oh,
But it's sort of hit a wall, of how much it's growing and how much it goes and everything, because it's sort of hard to. They need to have the version, for the inner city kids. I mean, they just got to have a race course, man. And sometimes it's just a pump track,
yeah.
and something you put out, for the day of the race, or put it away and everything. You do it, and the thing is, in most cities, man, there's space,
Yeah.
and parks, all that sort of thing, so you can do that. So they got the right attitude. They said, "Hey, look, how many baseball fields do you have in this town? We want to have that many. We want to have many courses, tracks, places where kids can go recreate on their bikes."
So
And
I'm on the neighborhood council in this neighborhood, and I'm the chair of the livability and sustainability committee. And this is kind of like exactly what I was hoping.
no, you want to, it's a woman that hired everybody in the last 5 years, and she did a really good job. You know that? And that's sort of where it's at, is getting together a really championship.
Team.
Everybody on it is good. Then you feel good about working well. And these guys are on a tear. So yeah, reach out to. I really highly recommended that. NICA, wait, they're not going to do anything for you. You're going to pay them, all right? And you know, IMBA though, they're golden. They will help you in this thing. They will come. They will make it so you have more trails and more kids riding bikes. I
Wow,
guarantee
that's
it.
amazing. Right
You
there at
know,
the stadium, there's these guys getting, hundreds of millions of dollars who have to do something with their taxed
I
income.
know, I
And
know, and make it for the people. And like, man, this is one of the few screen-free activities we have for kids. And I'm telling you, this is going to hit it. It's going to ring. This one rings bells up and down the pay scale. Everybody's trying to find activities for their kids. You got to have kids involved. That's it. And it'll work.
that's awesome. I'm so glad that we like I've been trying to figure out how to corral all the different subjects I'd love to talk to you about. And this is kind of like exactly what I was hoping we'd get to. It's funny how you talked about kids who are maybe not as into like competitive sports.
Right.
And I kind of have an interesting experience with that
Well,
because
you could also say team sports.
yeah, and I mean, there's a way in which it's just undeniable that like the competitive innovation rocket fuel kind of like results in these kinds of like um, makers that are not just hobbyists but real enthusiasts.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. They live it. They aren't doing it for any other reason. you know,
yeah.
it's I love it. It's like I I see that in certain people. It's really funny these days. I'm like, I got I did a little project a few months ago. I said, okay, how many YouTube bicycle channels can I collect? And I've got like about almost 400 right now. That do bikes in one form or another. It's pretty, and it's like a lot of content. It'll be like 20 hours of content a day
Yeah.
gets put out there.
Yeah, I mean the screen thing is funny because
Yeah.
I've tried to figure out how a podcast can be a constructive, you know, um, not just sort of community thing, because so
Yeah.
often it ends up
Right.
being this thing that people sort of zone into and isolate around. So I'm doing this like neighborhood council, which is sort of a hyper local small government thing, especially as we head up to this November.
I guess it comes back to like, I don't watch 20 hours a day. There's no way, right? And not even close. And so how do you filter it all out? How do you like I could like basically right now what I watch is sort of what I qualify, self-qualify, because half of it is just like baloney. And I mean real baloney. People don't know what they're talking about and they're talking about it, you know, like mostly. Oh, it's funny.
Seems like there could be a way to kind of like delegate and filter, you know, if you don't have to do it
Well,
yourself.
it's really hard. It's a really slippery slope. Who's to say a lot of the time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's to say? It's funny, but that's become a real source of authority, for a lot of subjects. Oh my goodness, YouTube. I mean, I look at different stuff, and it's hard because you go through like it is typical of like almost any subject you pick. There'll be like a third to half of them don't know what they're talking about,
Yeah.
really, and it is putting out there in their opinion and everything, and boy, they do some dangerous stuff sometimes too. It's a mess, So you spend your time and you pick through it. You can find it. You can find good information, but man, it takes longer than you could
It's funny too,
imagine.
because like when it comes to that filtering thing, I have a weird lack of patience for some reason with videos, more so than I do even with like written stuff, because
Oh yeah,
usually written stuff has some vetting and some sort of um, ability to filter the kind of personal self-promotion,
right.
you know. Um, but it's a skill that kids are developing that we don't even but the sophistication around, you
uh,
know.
yeah, I guess you know, I've heard some things from the kids. I hear it. You hear it all the time because you got like all the nannies and au pairs and everything are here, and you hear from them. They'll tell you the things. It's funny. I listen a lot more than I talk these days. That's for sure. It's always interesting. To learn. Unless it's bike people, my old friends. I really had a good time at the bike show in Europe because I know so many people. I've known so many people for like 30 years in the business or more.
Can you tell me what the bike shows are called, the different ones, and
Oh
where
well,
they're at?
the biggest one in the world right now is Eurobike, and that's like in Frankfurt, and that happens like June, July. Um, and then there's the Taipei show, and that's in March, and that's a good show. And then there's a show in Shanghai, the Chinese show. That's a big show, and it's a new show in Indonesia because that's actually a fair sized market. And it's interesting. I got a YouTube video channel of a guy in the Philippines, and he just does nothing to go buy all these incredible discount parts people, and they're making all these parts that fit, you know, all our all the regular standards and everything, but these brands you've never heard of, and the prices are ridiculously low and stuff. Like wow, it's just fun to watch that stuff because it's like I've known for years. So like, there's a lot of Chinese would sell to South America, and they wouldn't sell anything in North America, and wouldn't touch it and everything. And their stuff was a whole nother level of cheap. And then there's a whole thing of like people will bring in goods from China now into Tijuana in containers, unload them, and sell them in packages of 7.99 or less,
Hmm.
and it qualifies as de minimis. So you might get a battery, three packages, a battery, a frame set, and a pair of wheels. And you put them together yourself. Oh, you're the assembler. Guess what? All these packages. I mean, here's a bike, cargo bike or something, and like they paid zero duty on it instead of 25% or more. And that's happening, and people don't even realize it in the business. And in the business right now, it's a mess. All the traditional ways of counting how many bikes are sold are being upset by I think three big electric bike brands. Electric, Rad, and oh no, what's the third one? I forget, but it's the
What does
third.
RAD stand for?
Rad,
Yeah.
RAD. This radical man. Come
Okay.
on. But those guys have all been really on it. It's like I turn on my VPN. I'm over in Europe, to America, and I get fed all this stuff all constantly on all my social. I get all their ads, boom, 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 because they know I'm a bike freak, right? Boom, 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 boom. Europe, go back to Europe, it gets filtered out pretty well. It's interesting. But I'll tell you, these, they market like all the other traditional bike companies have always traditionally marketed to the bike dealer. Well, the bike dealer has less and less influence
Yeah.
these days. That's just reality of like what's
Huh.
happening, right?
We've got a local bike store here in my neighborhood that's struggling mightily. People go there and shop and then they order their stuff online, you know.
Yeah, of course. Don't wouldn't you? I need some friendly advice. Oh, thanks. See you later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And it's like there are shops that have figured it out, and they don't buy anything unless they get a tremendous discount on it to start off. And they say, okay, bring your bike in. We'll put it together and take care of this and that. They sell a bunch of stuff at a good price, and a good price for them.
Yeah.
They're making the profit and everything. And it's like, phew, you got to figure out all the different ways. And the traditionalists are like, phew, they're gonna go away real soon.
It's a
It's
drag
like,
because it's kind of like people
yeah,
talk about the barber shop being a place where people can, get together and socialize as well
yeah,
as,
right. Well, that's something, yeah, but that's something you need every couple of weeks if you're going to look sharp,
yeah,
and look good and everything. Yeah, that's happening. People want to do things like that. Those guys have figured it out. The use of space,
just
the
the
people,
culture of getting
yeah,
together,
culture
being
and everything.
social.
And the bike guys, a lot of them just some are figuring it out, and a lot haven't yet. So the show in Europe was a sea of sameness. That is like there are uh, all the traditional bikes, high-end mountain bikes, high-end road bikes, high-end gravel bikes. All those bikes, everybody's bikes sort of look the same these days, more and more than I've ever seen before. And one thing they all have in common is stuff that's hard to work on. It sort of blows my mind. Like all the internal routing and everything. That stuff looks cool. The stuff looks beautiful and everything. But man, when it comes time to work on the thing, forget about it. It takes, hours instead of minutes, and to change all that stuff. And it's just crazy time to have so well, hey, the dealer will make more money. Well, the dealer's having a really hard time because they can't hire anybody that's decent. And I'll tell you that's the other thing is everybody in the industry, well, not everybody, 80% of the people in the industry, they work on their own bikes. They're mechanics, they're really good. They don't know. I mean, 80% of humans, they don't want to work on their bike because they'll mess it up. That's for sure. And just try and get something done that actually works. I mean, the employees, they they are not well paid, and that's a problem. In the United States, it's like for 50 years, we've been telling kids working on a production line is for losers.
Right.
And you pay them like losers, you treat them like losers, you attract nothing but losers.
Yeah.
And the reality is a whole breed of humans, they like that sort of job because at the end of the day, they could point to that pile over there and say, I did that today. I'm done. I'm finished. And they don't think about their job for the next hour, where the rest of us are like sort of torturing ourselves at night and stuff and thinking about all these things. It's actually a good way of life and
Yeah.
people choose it. But unfortunately, you can't exist and do that these days. And what's incredible, I mean, I had experience my previous company. We had a factory over in the former East Germany where they told people like you're important to our economy all the time. That factory was perfect. I mean, they did what they made just the best stuff, and it made money that way. It's like you don't make money when you have this unpredictability. It's when things are really screw up. Is when there's other exceptions and things. And man, it's just some gruesome tales these days. It's really hard to get people that they even give a rat's ass. I mean, there are exceptions, but man, it's just not the rule, and it's because we bred them that way. Yeah, I'm pointing the finger at us, what we tell people, what we told them and everything. And it's sort of a worldwide problem. Is like there is, in a lot of countries, is a real problem getting people to be mechanics. And I've always said with a bicycle, your bike is only as good as the last wrench that touched it. And that's a serious truth. It's like all those mechanics who do the Tour de France, those guys are like on it. They're the best, and they're not making a fortune. That's what's crazy about the whole thing. Those guys are you know, they do a really good job. And it's why I know like the automobile industry still hasn't taken the bike totally seriously. They don't have their own mechanics thing going on, like they don't do their own sort of repairs. When they start that, when they make that leap over, then I'll know that they really taking it seriously, that they get into the maintenance part of it. Anyway.
So I wanted to ask you about the cities and the bike lanes, and whether you think that it's happening fast enough, or
no, not at all. It's like it's sort of the thing of like, look, these other guys, they failed on promise. They don't deliver humans. It blocks up so fast, it's ridiculous. I want my right of way back. You guys failed. You deliver, death by massive crushing, death by fine particulate, and social death. And you're making 30% of our kids are pre-diabetic at 10 years old. Are you out of your mind? What are you talking about? It's like, I want my whole lane back. I don't want a portion. I want the whole thing. At least, I want the primary right of ways that you took from the rail guys and everything. I want those back so we can get to town and back quicker, because we've proven ourselves, where you guys are guilty of theft, actually. And, it's, I don't know. I get real hard.
The electric bikes are making it so that it seems like it should have more of that.
Oh, it takes away another objection, because the best thing about the electric bike is it works when it's hot out. Because that thing, I mean, you're going 4 miles an hour up a hill and you don't have any boost or anything.
Yeah.
Man, you sweat like a pig.
Yeah.
When you can go like, 11 miles an hour up the hill, and you're not pushing it super hard.
Yep.
That makes a huge difference. You're much cooler.
I wanted to show you my you've seen my iBot chair, the self-balancing stair climbing, curb climbing. Maybe another time I can show you the company that made this chair also came out with the first and best power assist wheelchair, where you would trigger the electric boost simply by pushing the hand rim. And I would be sort of crossing streets next to other people in wheelchairs, and it's just like one stroke and I'm just gone, and they're like puffing and puffing. It's like they're not moving anywhere.
Right. No.
I get
that's the best, is like the assist stuff, because then you feel like Superman.
Yeah.
When it's like it's really attuned to like what you're putting in.
Plus your days can be so much
the right way.
I mean
that's where like
the city.
It's where like these DJI guys. I rode their bike, and they put this accelerometer technology in it, so it just feels good when you push on it. It feels like it's coming from you.
Yes.
And hey, that's really cool. Because like when you get to feel like a superhero, you love to stomp all over town. Yeah. It's just really doing a good job of aligning feeling of human emotion. It's very much what Los Angeles is all about. And it's creating enough illusion to like, wow, I'm a goner. I'm right there with you. I feel it. Right.
Yep. And we've got this one stretch between Echo Park and downtown that's like slated for development. And it would be so cool if from the grassroots hyper-local government, we could encourage them to make this sort of like a car-free corridor, because there's
Like,
plenty of other
you know how I
options on
feel
either side.
about the whole car free too, is that the thing that we need is more bollards that go up and down. They'll use those in Europe like crazy. Like, and usually they got them this way, they got them timed so they come up at 10 a.m. and then they go down at 2 a.m. So the trucks come in and take care of everything,
Yeah,
before, after hours, all that. And then of course you're able with an emergency vehicle to go through
right, right.
thing. But it's like it's a mind blower. Our city too, San Francisco, they haven't figured it out. And they figured this out all over Europe, that when you close down a street, there's increased foot traffic there, and all the businesses do much better.
Yep.
It's much more, and it's safer too. You don't worry about like somebody renting a truck and roaring through a crowd like they're doing in France about 5 or 6 years ago. Remember that?
Yep. And you
Like,
feel human,
yeah.
you know?
So it's like a combination of that. The other thing that, like, hey, we're supposed to be the high tech city. I don't know why our mayor doesn't say, okay, we're going to switch gradually here to like what's called a geofence speed limiter, and it goes off of your phone, and you get in a car, and like a car will only go so fast,
Right.
like if you had that and the bollard system, you'd make a genuine dent on the pedestrian and bike traffic death,
Yeah.
and then you would make a better city,
Yeah.
as far as like uh being able to get around and everything. The other thing is just more vehicles. I like for people that of need too, right? They got tons of those that we make now. That was something you saw that's been in Eurobike. That's the best part, is a ton of cargo bikes and things, all different, every different type you could imagine.
Yeah.
And
I got this
plenty
guy.
of
I'll
vehicles.
show you a video that I got. He made a scooter. It's called
Yeah.
XOTO, where it actually leans. So when you're turning left,
Right.
the wheel kind of like just elevates on your left side so people won't
Yeah, yeah.
fall when they're turning. And I think
Right.
that's kind of a key to getting
Yeah, you're right.
more of the population who don't feel like they haven't
Dude,
ridden in a
dude,
while.
there were at least 10 companies there with vehicles that leaned. At least 10.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, there were maybe 100 cargo bike companies, at least 100.
Yeah.
And all the sub makers, parts makers, motor makers. That's a big deal there. That is worth going on its own. That
Awesome.
I'd say there's a sea of sameness. Well, there's a certain halls, there's the sea of sameness. And then there was like what was going on. And it was personal mobility. What was going on? I mean, I saw the biggest ass scooter I've ever seen in my life. It was crazy. And everything in between, it's just like
Yeah.
in a lot of imagination, and a lot of new things. So like that's a good part of that show. That show is the champion on cargo bikes, and a whole realm personal mobility thing.
Yeah.
Um, the others all have a bit of it, but no, that's the best one for sure.
There's a corridor between Echo Park and downtown that's slated
Yeah.
for development. And all of these developers are talking about, building all of these parking spaces.
Right.
Some of them are actually getting clued into the fact that if they have some smaller number of shared cars with a bunch of cargo bikes for their renters or condo
Yeah.
owners or whatever, they could have more density, you know,
Right.
and
Right.
we could start to get this sort of like dent on this. I mean, it's obviously a humongous problem, but the housing, we need dense housing, and we've got laws that are supposed to incentivize some
No,
dense
I'm
housing on the place.
totally familiar with that whole program and how it's been done, in California. It's a mess, and I think that, yeah, we have to build in a lot more dents in certain areas. And part of the problem is the parking thing. I mean, and in San Francisco, you've been able to build an apartment building without parking for the last 5 years. And that was revolutionary. I don't know, that's something good we've done, but man,
We've
our
finally
whole
gotten that.
approval process is famous,
And then, yep. And the
infamous,
neighbors are all
awful.
freaking out.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's yeah, and people freak out. There's still the NIMBYs around and all that, but it's changing, it's like a lot of feelings on that. It changed. It's because everything, it's really hard to get people to come out here. They live an hour and a half away, and I totally understand. It's like the prices are different there.
Yeah.
Our prices are crazy because I mean, we're like Marin County. We're the birthplace of low growth because 1970, 200,000. Today, 250,000.
Hmm. Wow.
And all the other counties have doubled and tripled in size. So when it's sunny out at the beach, they drive through us and paralyze us. It's hilarious, And we rejected BART. I've got drawings for BART going under the Golden Gate Bridge. There's like all the space under the Golden Gate Bridge to take. At one point, they were going to put 4 more lanes in there, and at one point, they were going to put the BART in there. And it could be done. But I've talked to like one of the head engineers of the Golden Gate Bridge. He says, "Man, if we're mine, I'd be replacing this thing right now. It's pretty well rusted. They didn't do a really good job of like making it rust proof. I remind you, in the 70s, they had an emergency. All the vertical cables were rusted through, and they had to replace them all. And the whole thing is like, uh, ah, he said, I'd be building another bridge right next to this one right now. That's a vote of confidence. He says 7-0 and bigger quake. Watch out for this thing. We might be out of business. It's not going to fall down, but it'll be like, we got to fix this. Get some real problems. It's a miracle that all that stuff exists. It's great, then the states made all those great things, but oh man, we need a renaissance.
Yeah, we'll see whether that there's a infrastructure bill that could hopefully get directed towards some of the newer stuff, not some of the same
Yeah.
old when it comes to
Well,
like,
the newer would be the ferries, and
yeah,
wow, we got a ferry that goes from Tiburon to Angel Island. They've had that. It's been a private business since like the late 40s, and they just got like a New Zealand company that does electric ferries to like sell ferries to them. They're going to start up that business, and it's actually it's a good piece, a well done boat and everything. And our boats typically here have a capacity of 650 passengers, and it's too much. We need more smaller capacity, more like 100, 200, and do it like Sydney Harbor, because Sydney Harbor is about the same. It's the same sort of shape as San Francisco Bay Area. So we got all these potential water roadways that we aren't using. It's crazy, and a whole system. And it's so pleasant to go on the ferry. It's
mm,
amazing, but it's that's got to come. And people are getting more aware that that's has a real potential. Because at this point, the guys making our freeways and roads make a lot of money. You know, and all that stuff is just incredibly expensive. And like the state of California, they've committed to not adding lanes because of induced demand. They know all about that. And instead, what they do is they'll make like a big parking lot at the entrance to the freeway, and you wait for the lights to go off. And like it's not so bad right now, but when things get really bad, you'll wait in the parking lot. you know, it's just a broken system. It doesn't deliver on promise. It doesn't get me across. Man, you go to Tokyo, 40 million people couldn't exist without their rail system. You can actually get across town. It's
yeah.
amazing, and to drive a car there is a real pain, because it's just flat out hard,
And
that's
it's
just,
also kind of fun to be on a train that's working with other people. It's kind of like you're not alone. You're
well, we turned that whole experience into like, this is what lower class people do.
yeah, yeah.
We were and it was all a lot of really clever marketing and stuff to get us to like, instead of buying a ticket, you were going to buy the car, the fuel, the insurance, the housing for the car, parking, tickets,
Yeah.
and you get to drive it.
Insurance. Yeah.
Oh man, it's like,
LA used to have a pretty
what a
amazing.
sham! I can't believe it. And the
Oh,
kids are up to it. They know, like, nah, I'd sooner sit on a bus.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know.
Well, I'm so happy that we had this
Yeah,
this meeting, man. I'm really appreciative. And
good. Yeah,
I'm
well, maybe something could come. I'm serious about the IMBA guys. Get a hold of them.
totally. We got this
Hey, we got an
incredible.
urban thing happening, and we need some help. They'll help you. They're really smart.
Beautiful. Well, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
And I wanted to say hi to your wife.
Hi, honey. With the mask.
Um,
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
great. Thank you very much.
All right.
Take care.